Hi, I realized that this year marks 5 years since I joined YouTube as a book reviewer, and I thought, what better way to commemorate this milestone than by creating a channel trailer where I introduce myself. Of course, when introducing myself, as they say in the storytelling world, it's better if we start from the beginning. My journey as a book reviewer started just about 5 years ago when, having made a living by advising clients on marketing and communications in my 9 to 5, to make or to get on video platforms. And I thought at the time, what better way to prove its effectiveness than to roll up my sleeves, make videos, and document my findings. Since then, making videos has been not just a way to hone my skills as a communicator, but it has also helped me as a cathartic exercise, providing an outlet, a therapeutic outlet for me to express my thoughts, my feelings about stories I've read. And I do recognize, acknowledge with a deep sense of humility that expressing my thoughts and insights about the books or the stories that I read actually fosters a sense of community and engagement, while forming meaningful connections, having meaningful conversations around literature. I first started by reading all genres of literature. But recently, however, my interest in fantasy has peaked. From time to time, you might catch me doing on this channel do a review of a literary fiction or thriller that catches my interest. But my first choice of a book to pick off the shelf will be fantasy. It might be high fantasy, epic, urban fantasy. I'll read it all as long as the premise is compelling and the story is tight. Why fantasy? I'm still on a journey of discovery, especially with fantasy. I believe it has the unique power, to stretch the limits of imagination and reality with tools or elements. Talk about allegory, metaphor, for writers to explore deeper meaning of spirituality and the resilience of the human spirit. I consider it a privilege to be able to have a peek into the minds of writers of deep imagination. I feel there's an expectation that as an African, or especially Nigerian as I am, that one must have been raised on staple literature like Shoinka, Flora Nwakpa, Achebe. However, I owe my love for stories to authors, writers of diverse backgrounds. Among my favorite writers are Kazuo Ishiguro, Remains of the Day, Amata Yadu, Sister Killjoy, House of Hunger, author Dambuzo Marakera, A.S. Bayat's Possession. I've already been surprised and deeply appreciative of the power of books to transport readers to new planes of imagination, and taking them to places they've never been, or giving them a glimpse of new ways of life, people, places, issues, circumstances. My fondest memory or fondest reading experience, I think, was my recollection of one afternoon after a series of classes back in uni. I was stressed and dealing with a heavy feeling of uncertainty at that time in my life. I walked into the library, and bless the library gods, the first book I stumbled on in the English literary studies aisle was a collection of short stories by Isaac Bashevis Singer, an Israeli writer. And I remember spending the rest of the hours in the library's open time that day, just immersing myself in, or getting lost in the work or the works of Singer, Vladimir Nabokov, I remember. And I think I might have burnt through a dusty old copy of Girls at War by Chinua Achebe. I don't particularly remember those books or those works. Well, I do remember going back to my hostel. I remember going back to my hostel that evening, later that night, feeling elated by the sheer power of those authors' words. Now, I don't remember that it took away the frustration of studying a course I couldn't see my future with, but I do remember that they helped me widen the scope or my imagination of what my future could be, even if I wasn't going to be an economist. And I think for me, that was something. My mantra has always been to read better stories, and not necessarily more books. They don't mean the same thing, not necessarily, especially if you're looking at them as exclusive goals. However, this year I have set a goal to read 52 books. If you commensurate with that's matching 52 weeks in the year, and it's more than likely that I will read more than 52 books this year. But it's always interesting to track how many books I do read on my quest to read better quality stories in a year. How do I plan to achieve this, or to achieve my reading goals? I intend to do this by reading books assigned by reading buddies in book clubs. So I have, this is how the math works. So I have two book clubs I belong to, and if I read each one of the books that I'm being assigned in those book clubs, that's 24 books in the year. 24 books in the year is already almost half of the 52 books that I already assigned, or I plan to read in the year, 52 books. Now, the other 2 weeks of each month, I self-assign books, but between those weeks I might have books that sneak in out of random curiosity. You might think this is too much, but I've found, and this might work for you too, definitely does for me, the more curious you are about a book or a story, the quicker you finish it. Not to talk of the enjoyment, the value that you will get from those stories, but more importantly, the greater the odds that you will finish it from cover to cover. So at this point, I want to ask, what are your reading goals? What goals have you set for yourself this year? Please leave a comment, or let me know your goals in the comments, and let's have a conversation going there. And I hope this does justice in terms of in reintroducing myself to you. If you have any questions that you want answers to, please leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer each one. And until the next one, happy reading.